A very good evening to all the viewers on GETI, and we are back again with a special guest with us this evening. We have with us Mrs. Nandini Shekhar ma'am, a visionary, a mentor, who is currently the principal at Delhi Public School HRIT campus. She has gained a prominent position in the educational arena due to her passion and dedication for education. She embarked on her professional voyage as a member of the DAV fraternity, and her enriching career, spanning almost 3 decades, has been her blossom as an educationist and an able administrator too. She has worked in the finest educational institutions like Delhi Public School, Ghaziabad, State Anandram Jaipuria, and KR Mangalam, which have enriched her educational journey. She is also a recipient of the Ramakrishna Award and Brain Feed Award for her contribution in the field of education. And she has showcased instructional leadership, reckoning that technology is all pervasive. She ensures that steps are taken to adopt new pedagogical practices that infused with 21st century skills of investigating, collaborating, problem solving, communicating, analyzing, synthesizing, and interpreting information to empower the 21st century global learners. So we are very happy to have you on this platform, Nandini ma'am. And today she will be talking about interactive classroom learning the happy way. So without taking much time, I would like to hand over the screen to ma'am. A very warm welcome.
Thank you, Prina, and I'm so happy and I'm very thankful to the GETI for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this disruptive learning. I think because of these days, the COVID days which are here, we need to be very, very cautious and we need to be involved in some kind of a learning. And this was a Herculean task for all the educational institutions. And I think GETI did a great job by giving all the principals and other educationists this platform so that learning never stop and the learning keep on going. So without adding more time to my this thing, I just want the conversation to go on, and I would like to continue with my PPT. And Preena, can we start with the PPT? See, my topic is interactive classrooms, learning the happy way. The reason behind this was that when we are doing a lesson plan or we are asking our teachers to make a lesson plan for the children, there are a lot of things which kept on missing out. So a good lesson planning is all about inculcation of multiple intelligences, interactive and integrated approach, inquiry-based learning, so that the lesson becomes wholesome in itself. And when this kind of a learning is there, the children also enjoy. Otherwise, the rote memorization and 80% of the time, the teachers are just delivering the lecture and children are doing question answers. So, and when we incorporate all these kind of techniques, learning strategies into the lesson plan, the lesson plans always become interactive, and it is a quality of a good teacher that she need to inspire children, she need to bring hope in the children, and ignite their imagination and instill love for learning. So that was a famous quote by Brad Henry, and I would like to just elaborate what interactive classrooms are and why we need to have this kind of classrooms, and so that the learning becomes more fruitful, it is more productive, and the children are gainers in this. Can I next slide, Preena? Next. Uh, can you uh, can you hear me, Preena? I want the next slide. Yes. What are interactive classrooms? A classroom where maybe it is virtual or it is inside the classroom, where the conversation between the students and teachers is taking place in a positive manner. And which also creates an environment where both are able to give their best to the classroom, where students learn through the participation in the attainment of knowledge by gathering and processing information and solving problems. It means that the complete involvement of the teacher and the student is there in the learning process, where both of them participate, they interact, they try to solve the problem, and they explore different dimensions of learning. So, interactive teaching is about instructing the students in a way that they are actively involved with the learning process. And different ways to involve the students are there are four ways through which the students can be involved in the process of interactive learning and teaching and learning process. One is the teacher-student interaction, where the teacher and student are interacting with each other. Another is where the children are made to sit down in groups and they are doing a lot of pair and share work. That is the student-student interaction. And we use different kind of audio, visual aids, and videos, and all these things, all virtual platforms to make the classroom interesting and interactive. And one is where the children are involved in some kind of hand-on experience, maybe experiential learning, or you can say project-based learning. So all these ways are the methods through which the interaction in the classroom can take up in a very positive and constructive manner. Next slide. Next slide. Next. No,
It is there on the screen.
but it has to be little, when I say it has to be little faster because
Sure.
I have to, okay. Now, another thing is the social-cultural dimensions of learning. Learning takes place in the four walls of classroom and sometimes beyond the classroom also. So it is also a method of skill building because learning is not only what is written on the paper and pen and you write down with the pen and what you are reading from the book. The application is there. The lateral learning is there, and that lateral learning is influenced by a lot of factors and that get impacted also, and that is reflected as well. So the impact is created within the classroom and the reflection of that goes outside the classroom as well. So one is that the way the children learn to interact with each other, and they come to know about different diversities. They are involved in different kind of processes where they understand what diversity is and how, and that respect is there because their horizon of thinking and their minds get little broader. They are able to assimilate a lot of knowledge and they are able to understand that and they are able to do it. Another portion which comes into mind is the communication part. Communication is a very, very important thing in the process of interaction because whole world depends on the art of communication and how you might be speaking the simplest of words or you might be speaking the commonest of words, but the expression that is required, the selection of vocabulary that you have, the kind of diction, pronunciation, modulation that you put forward in your conversation, that is basically communication. Communication also deals with the content, that what is the content and how you are able to deliver the content. So these things also are actually they take shape inside the classroom, virtual, maybe on the virtual platform, where the teacher is trying to make the children understand, and she is actually exploring a lot of potentials of the children, and children are also expressing their views and their opinions, and they are free to converse, they are free to deliver their opinions. So that actually teaches them the process of communication, which is very, very important. Please, this then is uh, when interaction is there, interaction is always amongst few people. Maybe you're talking with your teachers or your friends or your relatives or any like a group of people. So this also build up the interpersonal relationships, how you talk to a person, the way you communicating to the person, the kind of attitude you have, the delivery, dialogue delivery, and your body language, all these things matter, and that builds up your interpersonal relationships. When the interaction is interactive classrooms are there, interaction is going on, it builds up a great opportunity for collaboration where the people are interacting. Naturally, relationships are built up, team building is there, children make friends, they come out of their shell, and they love to work in a group, and they are learners. So their application, their knowledge, their growth pattern is very, very different because the confidence building is there. They're learning new patterns of behavior. They're accepting others' point of view. They are able to convince them with their own point of view. So all these things are very important and they are added advantage of an interactive classroom. Next slide. Uh, all learning begins with the inquisitive learner. Curiosity derives the inquiry process. Now, interactive classroom cannot be possible without two important words. One is inquiry, one is curiosity. A curious mind will only be able to converse. A person who doesn't have a curiosity or a question mark or an exploration or maybe try to inquire about something, that becomes actually a dead classroom, a classroom without any life force in it. So for learning to happen and to learning to take place, it is very important that the curiosity should be there. Because generally, till now, what has been happening in the classrooms, that 80% of the time and 80% of the class was being dominated by the class teacher or the subject teacher or the teacher who is teaching the class. And the child was only given certain amount of time when the teacher used to ask the question in the end. Now, the processes are changing. They are due to different experimentation and a pragmatic approach towards the education. We are trying to bring the child in the position where he is able to converse, he is able to deliver, he can have that curiosity in mind, and he wants to really think, have a critical thinking and a problem solving attitude, and he wants to listen plus reflect and deliver the teacher's viewpoint with with the inner form of interaction. So the children are taking a better shape right now, and they are trying to learn in a positive manner. So this kind of classrooms are only possible when the curiosity is the life force of the class, and where the curious children are there and they have got intellectual kind of a desire and that kind of a hunger in their mind, and they want their well-being is there, and that they feel secured and protected in the environment. So they actually want to participate in the class. They actually want that they should be a part of the conversation which is going on. And this is generally, you must have seen, or we have already noted this, that smaller children do take part in this. Smaller children have got a very curious mind, but their curiosity somewhat is dipped in the bud only. Because the reason is because the teachers have their own apprehensions, and we have, when we are in the class, we are more time bound, we are more syllabus bound. So we do not give that kind of a time and space and capacity to the children so that they can actually uh, project, or they can actually come out with their own curious nature. Initially, children they ask number of questions, but slowly and gradually, as they go higher in the classes, they feel that there is no need of it. First of all, secondly, they feel that they will not be like teacher will be thinking that we are questioning the teacher. Thirdly, they feel that why to involve in oneself in this kind of a conversation is, but let the chapter finish and let it be over. So when this kind of process is there, then the learning takes a little backseat. If you want the learning to be proper, and if you want that learning should be very, very constructive and a lot of positive outcomes to be there, then you need to feed the hungry minds. You have to force them to think. You have to force them to have curiosity in them, so that, and that is only the environment has to be created for that. It is not something you can give them and you tell them to do it and they'll do it. No, you have to motivate them. You have to create an environment of that sort, and you will have to bring that kind of atmosphere in the class where the children are, or maybe the teacher initiates certain kind of questions where the children feel comfortable enough and they can project their knowledge and they can speak out their knowledge as well. So that is what is required at that point of time. Next slide. Now, what is curiosity? Actually, this word has recently been taken into account, but previously it was a dead word because so nobody understood why is there is a need of curiosity. It is an inner force. It is a desire. It is a drive for learning. People, those who are curious, are also critical thinkers. They have a power of reasoning, and people, those who are curious enough, or they have inquiry, or they have a curious mind, these people exhibit enhanced cognitive skills because they pay a lot of attention on the thinking process, and thinking always give birth to ideas and further thinking. So we call this ability curiosity. And we recognize in children when we see them exploring the environment, devouring books and information, asking questions, investigating concepts, manipulating data, searching for meaning, connecting with people and nature. This is actually what happens in the classroom when you go to a science lab. There you see this kind of atmosphere where the curiosity is taking place, but that is under a mentorship. But if you leave the children on their own and tell them to experiment, then you will see that their curiosity will have no bounds. They will try to explore more and more. The better and the environment is given to the students to explore, to investigate, they are ready to do it, and they do it with a lot of curiosity in mind. They have got a, and they feel that they should achieve something out of it. And why would children love to learn? What is the reason they want to learn? It is only the certain adjustments is to be made to transform any classroom into a hotbed of curiosity. See, curiosity has to be created. It has to be developed in the minds of the children. It has to be like innovated. I would say innovated because unless and until the teacher doesn't make an effort and her teaching pattern is such where the children don't feel curious, naturally the it will be a dead class altogether. So this means that setting up the classroom to support the skills that all learners begin with such a drive to explore, and the learning will become effortless because the children will love to learn. They would love to go deeper into the topic or the subject, and they will be motivated internally. Intrinsic motivation will be there. So the teacher has to first give extrinsic motivation, which will result into self motivation of the students. And when the children do this, they find the joys of exploration because when they are just delving into the realm of the brain and the mind, naturally what happens? They learn better. They they are mature. And this kind of a nurturing is there where the children seek information and experience the whatever experiences are there, whatever learning is there, it doesn't stop, it stays, it goes on. And the children don't forget because there are a lot of memories also get connected to it. There are a lot of experiences also which get connected to this kind of a learning. So a learning supported by experiences, maybe hands-on experiences, project-based learning, or some kind of experimentation. So that learning where the children are themselves involved and they are intrinsically motivated and they do something because of the curious mind, that thing they'll never forget and they will always remember in life. Next slide. Now, what is the need of interactive classrooms? Why do we need interactive classrooms? Where the teaching was going on well, and all of a sudden, all these jargon words have come into existence, and we need an interactive classrooms because, and we have till now we have seen the children are sitting idly. Some of them do keep on doing drawing, and some of them feel that teacher by the end of the session or the end of the chapter is going to spoon fed them with all the question answers, and they don't want to be active seekers of knowledge anymore because they know this is the pattern which is going to be there, and they will be availing this kind of a pattern. Now, if we do not have this and we have an interaction in the class, you will find them that children will be or should be. encouraged to delve into the thought process and ask something from the chapter that can be open ended, that can be some imagination, that can be some role play, changing the end of the chapter, changing the climax of the any kind, anything, or experimentation, or whatever. If you do that, naturally that will stir the imagination of the children, and then the questions will come to their mind, and they would then feel puzzled and confused that why it is there, what if, why, how, when, all these things, when they all come to the mind of the children, then they want to explore the answer to those things. And that is what gives your class an edge over others. That is what makes your class lively. That is what instills happiness in the class, because now the children are not passive listeners, but they're active learners. So making children active learners, it is a big role of a teacher, where she tries to make her classroom interactive, and the children are able to ask a lot of good questions, and they come up with a lot of queries, and the kind of question the children ask determines the knowledge of the students, that how deeply they have understood the concept, and what is the depth of knowledge that they have gained out of it, and how mature and how intelligent or intelligently they are asking the question. Is it a simple question, or is it a question which needs a lot of deliberation? So this is what is the beauty of the interactive classrooms. Next question, next slide. Now, curiosity is, we have already understood that why we need to have curiosity in class. But what drives the interactive process? It is very easy to say that interaction should be there, but what are the processes? What are the methods? What are the styles that we can have interactive classrooms? So, first is, interactive classrooms lay down the platform or the foundation of exploration in young minds. It just gives an opportunity to the students to explore, and and it is very natural. Anything doesn't come if you don't put a question to it, if you don't inquire about it, and you don't have that kind of a curiosity in you to know what the thing is and how it has been done, or when, or how, or why it was done. So that thing cannot will not have a depth. So this comes naturally with this kind of a process where the interaction is there, and they are not passive members, they are active members. Now the children, when all the children are there and they have this process of interaction, so now some of the children start thinking of on their own also. They imbibe their own thinking process. They might be having their own personal view of a particular item or particular concept. So, and whatever is learned, it has got the long term memory is there, and retention is there for a longer period of time. And the knowledge of the student also improves with this. Children, when they are interacting, it is also, if you look at the picture, you will find that this picture is self explanatory, which is talking about all these things which I have written out, that it is a team spirit that is being built up, and there is a lot of freedom of expression where interaction is there, because everybody is free to express whatever they feel like. It can be like in favor or against. So it can be good debates can be there, good arguments can be there, and good group discussions can be there. And when this kind of feeling is there, when you are able to express yourself, it always gives a happy feeling. So a lot of dopamine also releases, and it brings a lot of pleasure to the students, those who are in the process of interactive, because they enjoy, they feel that we are the part of the class, and we are being listened, and everybody is trying to understand what we are telling, or what we are going to express. And this is the one of the happy factors, and it also brings a lot of happiness in the class. And another thing which is very important is, children become good listeners. Their observation improves, because when they listen to other person and they're observing other person, so this actually enhances their memory. They don't forget whatever is being there in that particular session of the class. They will remember it always. So this is one of the interactive processes, this thing, and it really helps the students. And it also generates a lot of further queries in the minds of the children. Maybe the child doesn't speak right in the class, at that particular time. But when the child goes home, maybe some question comes to his mind, and he wants an explanation of that particular thing. So this is it actually explores the process where the learning is not stopping; it is going on, and it is there in the mind of the child. So he maybe in the afternoon when the teacher was explaining, certain thing did not come to the mind, but whatever was happening in the class, that leaves an imprint in the mind of the student, and he goes home and try to think, and next day he can come and ask the teacher about the same thing. So the learning is not stopping there. Next slide. Now, what are the basics of enhancing interactive process? How do we enhance the process of interaction in the class? And uh, and in the process, build up network of interpersonal relationships, because relationships matter most. Children learn very nicely with a peer group. When they are in a group, their learning is automatic, it is natural, it is spontaneous. So one is you can give a lot of projects to the students, because project work is always exploration first of all. Lot of research is there. The children feel the onus of being responsible, and project work also gives the students a teamwork or a group activity. Then it is some of the hands-on activities can be taken, and most important thing is you have to create an environment where a lot of inquisitiveness is there, when a lot of interaction is there, inquiry based learning is there, a lot of skill building is also there. So all these things should be a part of your culture and the environment of the school. Then giving assignments which require teamwork and research work. Sometimes when if you give an assignment to the child, maybe he doesn't understand the concept, and he is not too sure about it, and he's reluctant to do it. But when he has a team, so he wants to be equal contributor in that team, and he would like to go in the process of research or maybe teamwork. Then interaction. Student interaction is very important in the class, and that can one process of doing is where the teacher is interacting with the student. Another process is when the teacher makes teams, and the children think, they make pairs, they share whatever ideas they have, and then one leader comes up and he speaks the ideas of other children. So this also builds up trust and bonding amongst them, and that also provides a lot of opportunity to work in groups or in pairs. And use of multiple applications of communication is there. Maybe bus session can be there, you have a brainstorming sessions, discussions, presentations. So bus session is something where the teacher is involving the student, and she is giving some kind of a data, or maybe a news, or some kind of a spicy or in a very interesting anecdote, and that stirs the imagination and the interest and the curiosity of the student, and they get involved in the process of teaching and learning. And then a lot of brainstorming where everybody has given a liberty to express their opinions and their views, and discussions that follow, and discussions can be in also brings a lot of ultimate thinking in the minds of the children. And presentations, maybe the PPT presentation or a verbal presentation or some kind of a role play or debates, or whatever way of presentation can be there, where the children learn and they exhibit whatever they have learned in the process of this kind of a process. And very important thing is, so that the learning doesn't come to a standstill, and so that the learning is always taking a very positive note in the minds of the children, boosting and encouraging the students is very important, because teacher's role is just like every morning if you have bonvita or you take a boost. Why do you take it? For energy. So in class also, children need to have that kind of a mental energy, emotional energy, psychological energy, plus energy to initiate. So the boosting by the teacher is very important. Okay, tomorrow I'll do this. Oh, let's see what is going to happen tomorrow. Let me find out. Let me see how the children are going to give me the answer for this type of a question the day after. I'm giving you 2 days. Just think over it and get back to me. And encourage them. Okay, I told you now, children, come up with your answers or whatever concept is there. So that can be a very interesting thing with the students, which the teacher can do. Next slide.
Ma'am, we have a question here coming. I'll just show you.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, we have a question here from Dr. Sanjay Agarwal. If you can
Uh-huh.
read there on the screen, to share
Yeah.
some techniques to stimulate a student to ask queries who is sitting idle in the class for a long time.
See, there are a lot of reasons why the child is dull in the class or is not taking interest in the class. Here, the
Mhm.
teacher will have to, as a class teacher or maybe as a subject teacher, you need to create that bonding with the student first. There is always an underlying reason why the child is either the child is not able to understand the teacher at all. Maybe the teacher need to work on the teaching strategy that the teacher has, or the student is having some problem at home. Maybe the mother has spoken something, or the father, there was disturbance at home, or maybe he has a fight with the sister or some kind of a thing. Another thing is what happens when the children are going through a same pattern of behavior day by day. So they become accustomed to it. They start feeling comfortable. They start feeling that this is the way I am and I am going to be. So you will have the teacher needs to make little bit of effort to take him out of the shell and encourage him a little bit, motivate him, give him a different confidence, and instill that kind of a feeling and the confidence in him that you are capable of it. Why the child sits idle in the class? Because somewhere he is lacking in confidence, or he is overconfident. There are two factors for this. If he is lacking in confidence, you need to work on his building the confidence. If he is overconfident, then you need to give him some kind of a task that his overconfidence comes down. That see, there is no limit to knowledge, there is no limit to learning. So the children sometimes start feeling I am the best in the class, so I don't need to. I'll let the teacher speak. I'll just go home in my, or my tuition sir is going to handle this thing for me. So there the problem comes. So Sanjay, it a very nice question that he has asked. So it is always you should make an effort where you bring that kind of a like a friendly kind of an attitude with the student, and the students, those who are tough initially, they become your best friend later on. They are your best students. They turn out to be so happy with you because somewhere you have to scratch the emotional behavior where my child is, or my students is lagging in emotional this thing a connect. So emotional connect is very important. So, and once the emotional connect is developed, so the children want to come up to their your expectation. They think that my teacher has this expectation from me, so I need to work on this kind of an expectation with my teacher. So this is I hope I have answered the query.
Yes, ma'am, for sure. Yes, ma'am. Let's move on to the next.
Yes. Now, what are the impacts of interactive classrooms? Now, everything has got its own impacts and results. Like whole year the child studies, and in the end we give him a report card. So the way we handle the class, the way we are taking the class and we are teaching the students, that has got its own impact on the students. So in education, we value the student's ability. What is the way we value the student is how the children have performed in exams, what was their percentage of marks, and what is more important is that their ability, if it is, we always think of getting the child is 70%, we want him to be 80%, 80% child wants to be jumped to 90%. So one is that interactive classrooms always hone that kind of a skill in the students where the aspirations from their own self becomes higher and used as an assessment tool as well as teachable moments. Now what happens when you are interacting in the class, that is you are assessing the students, that how my children are behaving. Are some of the children are curious enough, some of the children are taking a back seat. So your teachable moments are created. Some moments are very happy moments, sometimes you have to scold the students. So these are all teachable moments where you create memory with the students. And assessment tools also, assessment tools where you are, when you are in the class of interaction, you come to know yourself that how much the class is gained out of and what was your objective and how much have you achieved your objective. Now some of the abilities such as social behavior, resilience in the students, self awareness about themselves, integrity, like doing their own work on themselves, resourcefulness, where they are trying to find out different resources to know their curious answers or they want to explore more, and creativity and empathy. All these things are naturally developed in an interactive classroom. These are the bonus points which you get in the classroom when your children are there with you. And interactive brainstorming is mostly performed in group sessions. What happens when you are in a group? That every child wants to speak and a child wants to gain that kind of importance. So that is a kind of a brainstorming only, where everybody is exerting their brains to come up with some kind of a content for speaking. The process is useful in generating creative thoughts. So creative thoughts are created, ideas germinate in this kind of atmosphere. A lot of new ideas, also new things come in mind. And brainstorming helps students learn to work together, and above all learn from each other, because you start respecting each other. You accept the knowledge of other person as you want your knowledge to be accepted by them. And you will be surprised by all the great ideas that you come up with in the interactive session. So anything which the children are not able to learn otherwise, if the session is interactive, if your class is blossoming with lot of ideas and views and opinions, you will find half of your work is done, half of the content is being solved. A student learn to work together, and above all learn from each other. Students get, now this is also a great way to engage the students. They communicate, they remember, this I have already told. And according to research, the joy of explanation, hidden force that drives learning, critical thinking and reasoning, seeking new learning experiences. This is very, very important. When this process of interaction goes on in the class, the drive of for learning also improves and things come out to be in a very positive manner. And uh, it is also a time when the children start introspecting themselves, and they always think that where I was and how much I need to work on this. Next slide. Now what happens is we want a lot of things from the teachers. We want them to be our masihas of teaching learning process, but they have they also their classroom and their timetable also come with a lot of baggage, where the expectations from them is too much, and they're always in a state of dilemma. So their dilemma is, first is that when I'm having an interactive classroom, how will I create a rubric for the students? How will I assess my students? Whereas the assessment is very natural, because but it is non-tangible. It is not it is actually, you cannot write down on a paper and pen and there is no proof of it. Your classroom behavior was there, and that you have assessed the children on the basis of this, but management will always ask you how have you assessed the students. But that also you can just make your own rubrics for this, and you can say that this activity was taken and this was the rubric created and this is how I have assessed the students. And another thought of is that what are the chapters that I can have interactive session with? I cannot have interaction with all the chapters, but if you look at otherwise, and if you just put your mind and thought into it, heart and soul into the anything that you are going to teach, I feel that every chapter can be very, very interactive, because you can give projects, you can give hands-on experience, you can have a lot of experiential learning. There are a lot of other techniques which you can apply and use, and your interactive classroom is possible. You can have role plays. So that is also there. I've written down the dilemmas, and I'm giving the answers for solving those dilemmas as well. And one important thing that, and always the complaint that comes in, the how to finish off the syllabus. Now, syllabus is something which is in the hand of the teacher, and it is the art of the teacher that she has to do all the things and she has to complete the syllabus also. So, how she has to do it, that is entirely in the is the concept that the teacher has to build up, and she has to create that kind of a thing that she can handle it herself. That should be her own, like expertise, that how I am going to complete my syllabus and what I am going to do in a particular chapter, and how will I manage my student and time, because interactive classrooms are always noisy classrooms. Some of the children are into constructive thought process, others are not. It's always a mixed crowd. But children, those who are not, they are passive learners. They might not be actively involved, but passively they are learning something. And time constraint is also there, because when the flow, by the time the teacher goes to the class and she starts her discussion, and till the time this discussion comes to a hilt kind of a thing, where the discussion is in a roaring state, all of a sudden the bell rings. So there the problem comes up. So but the teacher has to manage time. Teacher has to put up these kind of interactive classrooms at the time when she has got a club period, or she can ask for club period, or she can do it in the zero period, if something has to be done where you need this kind of. Otherwise, if interaction is your art, and if you have imbibed this quality in you, you can have it in your 40-minute period also. Initially, if you are learning the art of interaction, then you need a period where you and your children also need to learn this. So learning process, the time needs is needed is more. But once you are accustomed to this, then it will be easier for both of you. Next slide. Now, what is the role of the teacher? Role of the teacher as a mentor, as a initiator, as a person who is facilitator in the class. You are no more a teacher, you are a facilitator. So as a facilitator, you need to provide clear guidelines to the students. You yourself should be sure that what I am going to have for my interactive session, and you have to provide certain kind of situation, and the syllabus should be unfolded in a way that things which have not been done should cover up, should which have not been which are hidden should become uncovered, or they should come up. Like any deep rooted idea, any thought provoking question from any chapter, which that you don't even think, and sometimes children pinpoint, sir, can this be like this, or madam, this can we do this way? So then that is what is required at this point. You have to uncover the syllabus, you have to learn, unlearn, and relearn again. So this process has to be there, and questions, explorations should be there, investigations should be done by this from our end. All these things contribute to the classroom learning. What is classroom learning? It is not only the teacher is speaking and the students are just listening. What is classroom learning is that children are asking questions, teacher and the student both are doing the process of exploration and investigation, and contributing to the class discussions and to the content of the chapter. That is what is required at this point of time. Your main thing is, if you are able to encourage students, if you are going to praise the students and motivate them for whatever they have done, even their slightest effort should be applauded. We give a lot of smileys when the children are in nursery prep. We give them ice creams and a different. And as soon as the children grow up, you stop praising the. And at this age, everybody wants praise. So praise is something which should never stop. It has to go on. Little effort of this child should be applauded and praised, and he should be motivated. Those who are not able to do, and you have to find out ways. You have to put your class, or you have to convert your class in a way that it becomes a hotbed of curiosity. Like it should be a children should be aspiring with different. As you enter the class, children should be ready to ask you questions, and questions is not a bad thing. It is exploration of the chapter. So if they are able to explore the chapter with you, along with you in the process, you're also learning something, and the students are also gaining something. So and they are gaining as well as learning. And sometimes children also teach us a lot of things. So that should not be taken into, that should not be neglected at all. Next slide. Now, why do we feel that? Why I'm till the from the time I've started my conversation, I'm talking about curiosity, I'm talking about asking questions. But why they can be the extraordinary tools of learning? Because it always gives a healthy imagination to the child. It reflects the creativity of the child. A creative mind can only explore, a creative mind can only ideate, and creative mind has the ability to create something. maybe a question. So that is a ability of a child, and it's a wonderful gift. Curiosity is a gift actually, which is, with the time and as the children grow up, it fizzles out. It actually goes dead. But we have to continuously make an effort that curiosity never dies, because it gives us a reason to explore. And you can use this question method also as to understand your teaching learning process, the kind of question the child is asking. That also reflects the kind of learning that has gone into the class. And it also acts as a stepping stone towards a successful future, because when the children will be initiating the class, will be having discussions, will be involved, and curious learners, naturally their aspirations from themselves will increase, and their percentage of marks will also go up. And as a result, they will also start aspiring some good professional career from their own side. And they will also discover new things when you tell children to research from the net. So when they go and research about certain things, they in the process of exploration, they also explore other things. They also learn some other things. And this, if your children are asking you questions, it means your teaching learning process is going in a very positive and a very I should say it is going in a very happy manner. If your children are asking questions, it means your children are appreciating you, they are taking interest in your class, they want to be associated with you, and they want to learn from you, and they want you as your teacher. If they're asking questions from you, because they have built up that kind of a relationship with you, where they can now, initially it is not about questions about the book or about the chapter. It is also the questions that come in their mind as growing age, or maybe some kind of a problem they are facing. So that emotional connect is built up with the questions, which is very, very important. Next slide. Now, what makes children want to learn? First of all, we need to reward curiosity in the minds of the children. What do you do when you want to grow a plant? You feed it. In the same way, curiosity is to be fed. And the best way of feeding the curiosity is to generate further curiosity, to appreciate children, to applaud them, to encourage them, to motivate them, and to give them a platform where they can be, or give them a content which builds up that curiosity in their minds. And for that, a teacher has to be very good at interacting in the class. Because when you are interacting with an open mind, there is a paradigm shift in the thought process. Your thinking becomes more mature, it is more agile, it is more receptive, and a lot of, and it is very diverse also. And force the uncomfortable, transfer cognitive okay. So it is basically whatever is, whatever the feelings of uncomfortable feelings are there related to the teaching learning process. So when your cognitive approaches are right, and when you are learning the right way, and you are building up your intelligence quotient, naturally you will try to solve the problems. And they also, and basically, when sometimes what happens, who are thinkers are people, when they are not able to solve a particular problem, sometimes you keep on thinking about the problem. So in the process of curiosity, thinking process also improves, and thinking also takes a good seat. So when you are a thinker, you are able to go deeper into your thought process, and that also give different dimensions of thinking and creates habits of mind with that. Another thing is, you need to create a very warm, happy kind of a classroom for your students. And teacher is always, some of the teachers, I don't know how do you judge, how do teachers judge themselves as, but I feel teachers are, they are very good friend of the students. I have my students, those who are really a very good friend of mine. You are actually a role model. Whatever you do, smaller children, they will imitate the teacher as it is. They will love to wear a sari, and they would love to wear those bangles, and they will do whatever the teacher, and they will ask their mother to dress up the way their teacher is dressing. So you are actually a role model. And so should be the case when the children grow up. But what happens as the children grow up, you just want to make them cocoon in their own shell. Let them blossom out of their shell. And you can create positive and or negative environment, that is up to the teacher. So she is a person who can be a giver, and she can be a person who can be a taker from the student. So you have to be more on the giving side and positive side creator for the classroom. And always try to listen to your children and encourage them. If they are telling a wrong thing also, please do not make fun of them, please do not, but tell them, okay, this is you, this point is a little bit, it can be corrected. Don't say you are wrong, it can be corrected. And I feel if you put this answer this way, it will be better. And always try to avoid criticism, because when you criticize a person publicly, see, we all have this habit. We all, even I might be also having this habit, because I have grown with this. So if you make your children, if you don't do it with your children, at least they will not grow up with this habit of criticism and demeaning other person. So when you grow with a particular habit, that becomes a part of your nature. So don't let the children become a part of that nature, and just correct them wherever they are wrong, rather than criticizing them. That is the most important thing any teacher can do for the students, and that could build a long lasting relationship with them. Next slide, Rita. Now, see, our classrooms are still in the old fashioned classroom, and we are in the process where a lot of experimentation is going on throughout the world to make the teaching learning process very, very productive, very happy kind of, or you can say very satiating kind of a process, where there is a lot of contentment of teaching and learning, where the children are happy as a learners, and the teacher is happy as a giver, or explaining the chapter, or as a teacher. Now, when you will redesign the classroom, you always design the classroom with the motive of education, to elevate them. So, for that, encouragement is needed. You need to equip children with emotional intelligence, with knowledge, with lot of empathy, lot of caring attitude. Also need to develop that kind of attitude where the children are having a lot of sacrificing nature. They are working in a team. They learn to appreciate other person. So all these things are, you need to equip them with the skills, 21st century learner skills which are there. He should be a team builder, he should be a collaborator, he should be a thinker, he should be a problem solver, he should be a good in his studies, he should have a good vocabulary, the communication skills. All these skills are required, and he should be a complete potpourri of those skills. So that is the equipment, that is how the child has to be equipped by the teacher in the classroom. And that is not a one day process, that is a everyday process. So the classrooms have to your planning, lesson planning, or a curriculum has to be designed in a way that the children are equipped that way. And then when all these things are there, naturally they become empowered students. And empowering is your forte. You have to empower your students to become better citizens of tomorrow, because educated people are always, they have a very good ability to think and think correctly. So that is what is, when you empower the students and they are able to do good in life, I think that creates a lot of good feeling, and that also improves the nation as a whole. Anything else? So I hope I think I was little, I'm on always on the faster side, because I've got so much content to speak, and I hope everybody enjoyed. And I'm so thankful to GETI for giving me this opportunity, where I was able to put forward my views. And there are a lot of things which are there when the teaching learning process goes on, because it is not only a process which is only connected to interactive classroom, integrated approach, habits of mind, dimensions of teaching learning process, multiple intelligence. All these things are very important for a to be in the classroom so that learning process takes in a positive manner. And we need to equip our teachers, we need to educate our teachers, we need to give them that kind of a platform where they feel confident, and they should be also feeling that they are also learners at some point of time, so that the teaching learning process is very fruitful, it is very satiating, and it is very constructive and productive. Because if the children are gainers, I think, and they feel happy being in the classroom, and they are able to learn a lot of communication skills through the process of interactive classrooms, I think that will be a great thing achieved by the as a teacher. And that gives you a satisfaction when you, as a teacher, you can count on your blessings as a teacher, that my classroom has always been so happy classrooms. So you teachers only instill a lot of happiness in the classroom. So thank you, Pina. I think it was, I don't know whether I was too fast or too slow, but I really appreciate your effort and your patience for just bringing the slides to order. Thank you so much. Thank you
It
very
was a
much. And I,
pleasure having you, ma'am, and you were just perfect. And we have a few more questions from the viewers' side.
yeah,
It was a very insightful session, though,
okay.
but we have a question like I'll just show on the screen. We have this
Uh,
question from Reenu ma'am. If you can share some techniques on how to handle questions that are, as a teacher, we think are, irrelevant or to the topic discussed in the class. Something at times it happens that students ask, which is not related to the topic the
yeah.
teachers are discussing.
So, see, every mind is perceptions are different. The teacher is teaching in the class, but maybe the child's perceptions are different, and he is reflecting those perceptions in the class. So for that, the teacher need to take the child into confidence, first of all. Never shun such a child. Never just try to ignore the child. You can ignore him at that point of time, but you take up his questions individually, and you can always, and don't ignore that. Okay, you sit down. I will not take your question or something like this. You can always tell the
Right.
child that your question is very important. I'll deal with you individually, and then we'll discuss with the class. Always give that kind of a importance to the child. See, I see things from the environment I'm living in. My parents, my school, my mother, father, my cousins, and everything. So every child
Right.
comes from a different family background, and their vision and their thought process is only limited to that much. So we need to take care that we should always listen to the children. And if some if you find something objectionable is there, you can always work on it, and just counsel the child. Counseling is very important, and teacher can be the best counselor of the child. Nobody can counsel the child better than being a class teacher or a subject teacher. And you once you are able to solve that kind of a query or that kind of a problem of a child, the child will always feel indebted to you, always be grateful to you. And don't, after that also, just see, there are very small things which you can do with your children. You can just pat the hand of the child, you can hold the child a little bit, and you can just appreciate. Or you can say, okay, this yesterday, do you know what happened? If you build up that connection with the child will always come to you. And I have been doing this, I've always done with my students, so I feel very confident about
I'm sure they are lucky to have you. And yes, beautifully
it.
explain how we can tackle such a situation in classrooms. And I think people are loving your session. You can see the comment, teachers are always learning with passing days, as we as teachers need to on new skills to keep the students happy. And then we have another comment.
Okay,
Thanks a lot for the wonderful session. And everybody loved it. It was indeed very informative. And everything was
thank
explained
you so
step
much.
by step. I would say there are so many takeaways, but two, three very important ones are like, as you mentioned, the teacher's dilemma. They are actually
Uh-huh.
confused with this very common thing about completing the syllabus and then going to the activity part, how to manage or how to balance both the things. So yes, they have to come up with strategies about the proper planning, and they can definitely go ahead. And yes, about the choice of words, whether you are the words you are using are encouraging or not. because these things actually make or break the child. So it was a
Yes.
wonderful session, ma'am, because we do need,
Mm.
happy classrooms with interactive learning. A small question, like at this time of, crisis, when we are connected via screen, this technology,
Mm-hmm.
any
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 tips that we can, that the teachers can actually use to make the session more interactive with them.
See, you can like interaction is basically in a form where you are showing something to the students. Maybe some PPT can be shown. There are so many websites are there which are say like Padlet is there, Seashore is there, Simple.com is there. So when virtual platforms are little different than you're having an actual platform, like when you are in the classroom. But virtual platforms can be created so constructively by the teachers that first of all they need to have high five with the students. You have that kind
Right,
of a, maybe you are not in front of the students, but you can always give them a high five, or you can always say, oh, that was wonderful, okay, come up with this thing. You, when you yourself is not you are not enthusiastic, or you don't have that kind of a zeal in you, and you yourself are feeling
right,
that I'm in front of a virtual this thing, how will I teach, and lot of your face is a big question mark, then you cannot teach. So you have yourself is a best medium that you can make your classes so interactive by talking to the students and telling, okay, just I want one word for this, I'm giving you this thing, everybody speak one word for this. So what happens, the children come up.
right,
It is not always a big content or concept has to be there for explanation. You can take the smallest this thing concept of the book or the chapter, and you can continue with the children, and you can ask them very simple things. You can ask them a meaning, and okay, now make a sentence, let me make a happy sentence or sad sentence, or so a lot of things can be done in through interaction on this. And teacher can also do, like sometimes what happens, I feel that like we are having online classes, so I ask my teachers, so today let us have a dance session with the students. Or you can have role plays where the children can learn little roles, and they can say, okay, tomorrow this chapter is there, you go through the chapter, and each one of you just remember one line of the character, and I would like to ask you your whole chapter. You will find it becomes so interesting interacting with the students. So they are different, but although they are different softwares also, and some kind of I'm missing out the word which is there, so they can be used. And apart from that, the teacher herself can fill in all the jobs as a teacher of on virtual platform. She can make it very interesting. I know this, but she should have a confidence, and she should know what I'm going to teach and how I'm going to teach and what interesting I'll do with my students and how I'm going to start the chapter. Most important thing is that you should always come with a bang. If you are joining your students with a bang and you say, okay, today I want a huge laughter from all of you, let us give a 2 minutes laughter, you will find that your class becomes so vivacious, and some of them will misbehave.
right,
So let them give that chance to misbehave. When I in the class as a teacher, when I used to go, I used to make them do some exercise. Okay, let's do something, and the children used to, "Ab to hum itne bade ho gaye, why we should do it?" But then always treat them as small children only. When you start thinking you are big
right.
children now, so that gap is created. Don't let the gap to be created. Always show yourself that I'm your teacher and you are my student, and you will always be smaller than me. So that connection builds up very nicely, and they start respecting you.
Nice.
Yes.
Absolutely, we need to have that bond, as said. You need to
Yes.
have that rapport with your students. Truly said. And the one thing that you mentioned about, why do we pamper only the pre-primary kids, but when it comes to the primary or junior or senior students, we are very strict towards them. Even
Yes.
they need, encouragement from our side.
Mm.
Beautifully explained, ma'am. Really very nice session it was, and I'm sure everybody enjoyed. So it was
I hope
really
so.
nice
I
to have
hope
you,
so.
Getty.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, and it
Yes,
was wonderful. I think I have a lot of things that come to my heart, but I have, that is why I go a little faster also. But I always think that I'm a little slow with my this thing. I hope everything was audible and understandable. That is
Absolutely. It was
okay.
crystal
Thank you
clear.
so much.
Wonderful
Thank
it
you
was.
so
It
much.
was lovely to
Okay.
have you,
Thank
ma'am.
Okay.
All the
Thank you.
viewers,
Thank
thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And
you.
yes, we will be back again with another special disruptive education session very soon. Till then,
Okay.
take care. Have
Okay.
a good
Thank
day.
you so
Thank
much.
you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
God bless you. God bless you. And thank you, teachers. Thank you, everybody who was there on this and listening to me. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.